Hey YouTube! So since a lot of people celebrate holidays around this time of year, I thought I would do a little gift guide for those of you who have a tarot reader in your life. So if you're coming to this video because you searched on Google or you're just not familiar with tarot, but you know that you have somebody in your life who is interested in tarot reading, I wanted to give you a little bit of guidance and just a few deck recommendations for what you could get them. So to start out, let's say you are shopping for somebody who is actually fairly new that you know is interested in tarot, but they don't really have a lot of decks yet. They might not even have a deck yet, and you're wondering like what's a good starter gift. So a couple of decks I would recommend. So a lot of people like to start with a system called Rider-Waite-Smith, or RWS. Some people call it the Smith Rider-Waite in honoring Pamela Coleman Smith, the artist, with her name first. This is not everyone doesn't start with this, but this is a very common place to start. It's a system that has clear kind of visual representation. There's a lot of information out there on it. One thing I would steer people away from if you're buying for somebody new is using a more obscure system or something that is like really abstract, unless you know that's what they want, because starting with something concrete and clear can really be helpful. There's plenty of the Smith Rider-Waite deck out there, or clones of it, but I particularly wanted to recommend this one. This is called the Modern Witch Tarot. It came out fairly recently. It's by Lisa Sterl, I believe. Yes, Sterl. You can find it on Amazon, so it's easy to get with free shipping and everything. If that is your preference, you can also get it from, I believe, Liminal 11 is the publisher, if you want to support the publisher that way. And this is a great deck. It retails for about $25 US, looks like 34 Canadian. It has a convenient, nice little slidey box here. There is a guidebook, so good for beginners. And I like it because it is very much the Smith Rider-Waite images. So if the person is going online and learning and like reading about the images, they will correlate really well. But it's also more diverse, more representative, and has kind of a modern spin on it. So I have used this to actually replace my standard, and I definitely would recommend it. Another one that is pretty good for that kind of thing, I think, kind of a modernized Smith Rider-Waite, is the This Might Hurt Tarot by Isabella Rothman. And this is a great one if you are shopping for someone who also enjoys comics. Isabella Rothman does really cool comics and zines. It comes in a nice, sturdy, kind of magnetic open box. And these are a little less, they're not the exact images necessarily, but they are very, very readable, very accessible, like very similar clear themes compared to the original. And they are again modernized and more diverse representation. So that is a great one for beginners. And then one more that I will recommend, I would say this could work for beginners. This is also an amazing deck for someone who is just a reader. Any of these are, honestly. But this is the indie edition, so it's going to look a little different if you look online. But this is called the Light Seers Tarot, and it is now available from Hay House. I think it's around $25-$30, so fairly accessible financially. And again, I'm showing you the indie edition, so I don't know exactly how it compares, but there is a guidebook. I know there's a guidebook with the mass market edition, and it's just really gorgeous art. So I would highly recommend this deck for beginners, as well as people who've been reading for a while, who just appreciate great art. This thing, oops, that way. This thing reads like a dream. And I think a lot of people would appreciate it. Now, if you know that the person you're shopping for is a little on the darker side, enjoys things that are a little more shadowy, a little more like creepy or Halloween-y or what have you, I really recommend, and this is a little higher budget, but again, sturdy box. This is the Marigold Tarot. You can get it in a few different versions. It's a little cheaper. The one I have is black edge, but you can also get gilded, like gold edges. Here are the backs. Really great quality cardstock. And again, like it's a little more confronting. You have a lot of skeletal imagery, but it's super gorgeous. This is what's called a pip deck. So you may not know if the person you're shopping for has a preference, but a pip deck is a little less representational in the minor arcana. And I would say, you know, a lot of beginners don't like pip decks as much because they don't have as much of like a picture of what the card means. But if you know that the person you're shopping for is somebody who is really intuitive, super creative, they're somebody who you might guess would want to use their own imagination more than like the tarot system, or want to play more with it, a pip deck can be a good choice because it leaves a little more up to the imagination. So the Marigold, that is a pip deck. And then, well, I'm showing some specific decks. One other option, so if you do know somebody has been reading for a while and you're really not sure what they have and don't have, and you're nervous about getting them a tarot deck they already have, an oracle deck might be a good choice. Oracles don't follow the tarot system, but they're kind of their own thing. And this is one that is not getting nearly as much buzz as I hoped it would in the community. This is called the Fox Universe Tarot, a self-care oracle. It's a little confusing. It's not a tarot deck, it is an oracle deck, but I think it's called that because it's it has a full system like tarot. So if you know that somebody likes the kind of system, like having a system, but you're not sure, you don't want to get them a tarot deck they already have, this is gorgeous. It's self-care themed. So if you know that somebody could kind of use this in their life, it's likely that they don't have it. It comes for about $50 online, and you have suits like tarot, but they're not the same as tarot. So you have suits like dreams, the suit of, what else do we have? Oh wait, no, sorry, that's not it. I get this system. Sorry, dreams is a keyword. So you have suits like this, the suit of spoons, which I love. Wheels, the suit of, I haven't used this a lot, so that's why I'm like, what are these called again? Well, you get the idea. Anyway, the suits are all related to self-care, and so somebody who really needs some self-care in their life, this is a great one. It does come with a little guidebook that explains the whole system, and a nice sturdy lidded box. So more generally, what do you do if you want to shop for a tarot person and you're not sure what they have, what they don't have, what they like, what they don't like? One is to keep in mind that there is totally a robust community of people who trade and sell decks. So I wouldn't worry so much about whether they have it already, because you know, I would super appreciate if somebody got me a deck that I loved and I already had. I'd be like, great, they totally know me, and I'll just trade this for something else, and that's perfect. So, you know, I think a lot of tarot readers would be fine with that and would not be offended. But you can, of course, one little tip is to like go to their Instagram and scroll through and see if you see pictures similar to the deck that you're considering buying. If you do see a deck that has a particular theme that you're thinking, oh, this would be like great for this person, some things that you might want to consider include like, and you may not know somebody's preferences admittedly on this, and I don't know how much research you want to do, but things you can look for in the Instagram, if you're, in addition to whether you see pictures of a specific deck, you're trying to get an idea for somebody's style and what kind of decks they might like. Look for things like, do the decks that they show, when they show pictures of tarot cards, do they have borders or no borders? Do they have keywords or no keywords? Are they more of a pip deck? So a pip deck you could recognize because it's going to have whatever the suit is, like say pentacles, it will have like 5 pentacles or 3 pentacles and not a whole lot of else. Whereas if it's not a pip deck, it might show a person with 3 pentacles in the image, but they're doing something that's clear. So you could kind of figure it out that way. Do they tend to have a lot of dark imagery in their decks? Do they tend to have a lot of color? You can kind of suss out a person's style by spying on their Instagram. if you were looking to buy for someone of a particular identity, some decks that I can recommend, well, I should say I can recommend them as great decks, and I don't necessarily share all these identities, but I've heard that folks who do enjoy them. So one is Courtney Alexander's Dust to Onyx deck is amazing for Black readers, for African descended breeders. It is a gorgeous deck. It's a little more on the expensive side, but highly worth it. If you were shopping for a queer or trans person, I really recommend the Numinous Tarot. I also recommend the Next World Tarot. What are other ones? Many Queens is one that a lot of people don't have that is really great for queer readers, particularly femme readers. So that might be a good one. If you are shopping for a lesbian reader, I think Sia's Tarot could be really good. What else do I have? If you're shopping for Latinx or an indigenous, somebody indigenous to like Latin America, South America, I really like Marisa de la Peña's stuff. Circo Tarot is an example of that. I think the Circo actually may not be available right now, but the mass market version of it. It's really hard to describe the difference, but anyway, there's a mass market deck. It's called How to Deal, and I believe it's available through Urban Outfitters. That one is great. Yeah. Another thing you can do if you are afraid of buying a deck that somebody might already have, or you just want something unique and different as a tarot gift, tarot bags and tarot spread cloths can be really useful for tarot readers, and they are available via Etsy. Also boxes, you can find like really nice wooden boxes. So like here's an example. A spread cloth is fairly self-explanatory. It's just a piece of fabric that you can read tarot on with a design. But a bag, it can have a zip like this, like a zippered pouch, or it can have like a ribbon or cord closure, like this one here, so you can just pull. They come in different sizes. They come in like a standard tarot size and a bigger oracle deck size. One shop that everybody in the tarot community really loves, and you know you're supporting a awesome queer tarot family, is Sparks Creations, Sparks with an X on Etsy, but you can find all sorts of Etsy shops with this kind of thing. In fact, I have a video on my channel, I'll try to remember to leave a card, that reviews some specific Etsy shops that do bags. Another thing you could do is, if you know somebody's into tarot and you think they might want to branch out, is you could get them something from another system. For example, I already mentioned Oracle decks, but there's also Lenormand. So these are like smaller decks, they might be a little cheaper, and it's another system. It's a more like predictive system. Or you can get them some runes. So runes are another divinatory thing, or there's something called Ogham as well, that are like these little sticks. So there's different kinds of divinatory systems that might be fun for people. Finally, there's always books or journals, tarot focused journals. Some books that I really like for beginners, or really anybody, but particularly beginners. Michelle T's Modern Tarot is amazing. Bakara Vintner's WTF is Tarot is really good. Melissa Sinova, Kitchen Table Tarot. So those are some really good kind of popular books in the community. Anything by Mary Kay Greer or Rachel Pollack if they want to dig in a little deeper, or Benabel Wynn. If you know somebody's like real nerdy about it, Holistic Tarot, it's huge, but they can get into all the arcane stuff, all the symbology. So that's just some guidance, some information. If you are buying for somebody and you have specific questions, feel free to leave a comment below. If you want to know like what deck would I get for XYZ, I can totally tell you, and I'm sure others can comment as well. And if you are a tarot person, then be sure to subscribe, because I've got a lot of tarot content on this channel.